Cool. And then just make sure that you see the countdown or the count up, right? And then audio sounds good. Looks good. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo. Sound good? All right.
Cool.
I'm going to go ahead and start it up.
All right.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Knowledge to Currency, where knowledge is power and currency is king. I'm your host, Senator Porter. Today we have a serial entrepreneur on the show, Kevin Pheley. Welcome to the show, sir.
What's up, Nakia?
Hey,
Senator.
man. Nice that we've been talking about doing this for months. So I'm happy we're actually doing it. I kind of want to go over your journey, your businesses, your mindset, all those different things. I'm getting to know you very well, considering you're a good friend.
Yeah.
But for the audience, how'd you get from Boston to San Diego?
Car. I was playing Grand Theft Auto. I'm not gonna lie, man. I had just quit a job that I'd been working at, and I went from being an employee in the sales organization to a contractor where I could kind of do my own thing.
Okay.
And I could sell on my own. I didn't get a salary, but I was just given more freedom, and I had just sold my portfolio to the company of like my basically my book of business. They gave me a big multiple, and I had some money like saved up, and I was just kind of sitting around spending money, like, you know, just being kind of a slob, actually. You know, I had just gotten sober, so I was really bored. So it's not like I was like partying, like I was less than a year sober, and just kind of bored. And when you get sober, you kind of start to look at the world different. You know, you take these glasses off, and all of a sudden you realize like the filter that was over it, and all the common sense that you just sort of missed, you know, and you just start to get clarity around like what you want. And so I was kind of in this phase of like, I'd been in Boston for a long time. My family's from there. It's miserable there during the winter, and it was cold. It was dark and dreary. And I remember playing Grand Theft Auto, which takes place in Los Angeles. And I was like, man, it'd be so nice to be able to just like go to a beach and it'd be warm. And like, so I looked at like the weather in Miami, and it's like humid. And then I looked at the weather in LA like that day, and it was like 75 or 80 degrees, like sunny. I'm like, fuck, I think I got to move out to California. In 2 weeks, I was out there.
Really?
Yeah. So I packed up my dog, moved out of my place, found somebody to take over my lease in my room in the apartment I was renting from a buddy of mine, and moved here to San Diego, bro.
So what made you choose San Diego over LA?
So I actually tried to go to LA, and I tried to find a job doing like I think I hit up like a roofing company, and they were like ready to hire me. And I remember the guy like, and I was a salesperson, right? And I was a sales manager, and like, I don't know, I had a big ego, but I was really, really good at closing. Like I had confidence. Right. So I went into this interview, and the guy was like, okay, yeah, you sound like a really good fit. And then this company, Vivint, had offered me a job through a friend of mine. And I turned it down, like, no, I don't want to go to San Diego. I want to go to LA. Okay. And this roofing company was like saying, yeah, we'd love to have you. Think you're going to kill it. You're probably going to make like $200,000-300,000 a year. And I was like, cool, like that sounds good. And then I remember he was like, so do you need anything else? Like anything? Like when are you going to be out here? And I was like, well, I'll be out there on this date, whatever. But can you give me like an advance, like to come out there? And the guy was like, what are we talking about for an advance? And I remember I said like $5,000 or $10,000, and he was like, yeah, no. And then they just fucking ghosted me, right? So I was like, shit. So my buddy that had offered me this position with this company, Vivint, they flew me to Utah. They flew me like back to Boston, all over. Like they were just spending money like crazy. So they kind of recruited me. I went out to Utah. I took this position, and then it just didn't work out. I was only with them for like a few days. And
what type of company are they?
Solar and security stuff. And it's just like douchey, like door knocking stuff. Really good sales stuff, but not for me. And
not your cup of tea.
Yeah. And I remember my my sales manager, I told him, hey, I'm just gonna go, like continue, because I had started my company, but I didn't really know what I was doing. It was like right in the beginning. Like I think I had just gotten an LLC, and like, was just getting started. But I told him, hey, thanks for everything. Thanks for the opportunity. Like you guys have been great. Like it's just not for me. I'm going to go build my own company and, make money. And I remember he said something along the lines, I don't remember exactly, but he's like, you think you're going to make money selling Facebook ads to businesses? Good luck
Mm.
with that. I'll see you in a couple months when that fails.
Mm.
And it wasn't like exactly that. And it wasn't, you know, he said it, I think, a little more respectful than that, but it was still a huge slap to the face. And I was like, fuck this guy. You know, like the one thing, if you don't want me to do something, is tell me that I can't do it, you know, and
Okay.
that's always kind of been it. So long story short, I, you know, rented an apartment here and then went through like all of my money that I had saved up because I was just kind of spending money and just, I just wasn't thinking of the future. You know, I was 23 years old, uh, celebrated a year sober here in San Diego. And then now it's, you know, I'll have 8 years of sobriety here in like a month, actually. Holy shit.
Congratulations.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So then you figured out that I don't want to be an employee. I want to build my own way. And I'm assuming it wasn't all like rainbows and sunshine, right?
No, but I mean, look, like I had gone from working really, really, really hard
Mm-hmm.
to make like 100,000, 120, 150,000 a year.
Okay.
And I was blowing through all my money on just dumb stuff, like just eating out every day, you know, just little things like that. I was just constantly, you know, obviously alcohol before I got sober, partying, um,
Donuts.
donuts, not really, you know, but, you know, I just didn't have good financial habits. So I started running out of money and I was like, man, I really need to like get back to my hustle, you know? But now I'm doing it where I don't have a boss for the first time.
Okay.
And to kind of preface this, so this company that I work for was called Beacon Payments. And these two guys that own this company and my director of sales and really everybody in the company was just so good to me. And they brought me from being this young, you know, 20-year-old kid when I first started working there to, you know, I didn't know how to tie a tie. I'd never worn a suit. I'd never made money. Like they taught me so much, bro. And I was like a sponge. I was in there learning from them all the time as much as I possibly could. And I'm really grateful for these guys. But when I came out here, or before that, we sold credit card machines and payroll services and stuff, business to business. So you walk in, you try to get somebody's bill, and then you can kind of like see where the fat is that you can trim. Everybody gets it at the same cost. So like, you know, we can sell it a little cheaper and save them money by offering kind of the same service. So I went into this liquor store and this guy, Indian guy, right? And Indian culture is really, really hard to earn their business.
Yeah.
Once you earn their business, they refer you all their friends and their cousins, but they're very like just different kind of culture.
Right.
So I'm in there and like, I know I can save this guy money, but I just know after like 5 minutes of talking to him, like he's not going to switch. And he kind of like gave me signs of that. So I remember just looking at him, and at the time, bro, even though I was making good money, I had bad spending habits. My phone was shut off because I didn't pay my bill.
Oh man.
I had like no money, and payroll was like a couple days away. So I'm just like, fuck, I got to make money like right now.
Right.
And I remember telling this guy, you know, hey, what if I call your company and I just tell them to negotiate your rate because I can just get them to lower it and they don't want to lose you. So if I just tell them that you're going to switch if you don't lower it, they'll lower it and they'll send you a thing. Like I know because my company does that to our customers whenever somebody tries to switch them, right? Like we don't want to lose a customer. We'd rather make a little less.
Right.
And he kind of looked at me. He's like, okay, cool. So I called his company. I'll never forget. It was Heartland Payment Systems. I saved him like $108 a month, something like that.
Yeah.
And they faxed over the results, like the new agreement. And he was like, okay. And I remember he opened the till, and you know how there's like the little change thing?
Yeah.
Pulled up the change thing where they keep the hundreds under it. And I'll never forget, he held it up in the light to make sure it was real. It's like, it's in your till. Like, I'm not giving you the 100, and he handed me that 100. And I was like, thanks. And I walked out, and I remember just being like, holy shit. I got my little crappy Chrysler Crossfire and drove straight to AT&T, paid my bill, got my phone up, and went and got a burrito. And then the first thing I did was call, because I felt guilty. So I called my boss, and I was like, you know, I just felt like I had to get off my chest that I did this because it's on the company time and I was getting a salary plus commission. So I call Dave, who's one of the owners of the company, and I was like, hey, and keep in mind, he's like a mentor, but also like a big brother in business to me. So like we had more than just like a boss relationship. Like he was like, all those guys were super tight. So when he answered the phone, he's like, what's up, bro? Looks like you got your phone back on, because he knew my shit was off. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I got to tell you the story. I explained it to him, and I was like, man, I'm sorry I didn't try to sell him on anything, but I don't think I could have. And he was like, hey man, I'm proud of you. And it looks like today you became an entrepreneur. And I remember
Ooh,
that didn't really sit with me. I didn't
yeah.
really understand, but he's so far ahead of me. He's like 7 years older than me, 8 years older than me. So uh, now seeing it now and having my own employees that went and started their own businesses
Hmm.
with our support, now I kind of see it from two different points of view. It's like very bittersweet because I had no idea what this was going to lead to, but I knew right then that it didn't matter what I sold. I
Hmm.
just needed to figure something out to sell. And now I can go do this on my own and I can go teach people how to do it, which means,
Yeah.
motherfucker, I'm going to be a millionaire. And
Yeah.
that was almost 8 years ago now. Crazy.
So I hear a couple of different things based on your story. Number one, a good leader is somebody that doesn't want to hold you back.
Yeah.
Even if it's saying like, hey, I'm going to lose you from working here, but I see that you can do more. I don't want to hold you back here. I'm supposed to help you get to that next level. Another thing is, as a young 20-year-old, you went into a place and saw the opportunity, and you didn't say like, "Hey, I need to." Well, with the Vivid company or the other company in LA you did, but this company you like really like took their information and tried to learn as much as you can and make you a better, I guess, salesperson or employee or just a better person altogether. So those are the two things I got from that story.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And yeah, I mean, I saw the opportunity, but I was really hungry, right?
Yeah.
Like I was so hungry. I moved back to Boston because I was living in a small town in Southern Oregon,
Okay.
and there's not a lot of opportunity. Went through a breakup, really had nothing to lose. At the time, I was like 18, 19 years old. So I'm like,
Okay.
fuck it, I'm moving back to Boston. So
Right.
I book a one-way flight, move back in with my aunt for a little bit, get a job in a restaurant, and then I get this job at Beacon Payments, and I go get my own apartment, and life started to kind of evolve from there. But when I got there, I was so hungry and I wanted like so badly because I had always worked hourly and I had a sales job selling like cell phone cases at a mall before,
Okay.
which was really good sales experience because of all the rejection you deal with. But I had mostly had like hourly jobs where your performance didn't really indicate how much you're going to make.
True.
So now I'm in a spot where I have a really small salary of like $1,000 a month
Yeah.
and everything else is commission. So now I got to go hunt, bro. I got to be on the hunt, but I'm so hungry and I literally would do whatever it would take. So I would be there first one at the office in the mornings.
Mm.
The owners would come in, they'd unlock the doors, and then I'd sit in their office while they're setting up and I'd just ask them questions. And I kind of annoyed them, but it was kind of like, because they're trying to get shit done, but they also never didn't give me the opportunity to learn, and they would always show me whatever they were doing, and they were very willing to teach me. And yeah, that was super important because I had the desire, but they also gave me all the tools.
Yeah.
And then I would go out in my sales territory, and then we had to come back at the end of the day at like 4:30 for an afternoon meeting. So we'd have a morning one, kind of pump everybody up. You go out in your sales territory, and then you come back and we recap the day. And then I would sit in there with one of the owners in their personal office and just listen to them take phone calls and ask them questions. And like, I had nothing else to do, and I had nothing else I really cared about other than, Red Sox baseball. But
That's amazing. So shout out to them for being good mentors, good leaders, and then also they're showing you like a standard practice to be great.
yeah,
Like, hey, we're gonna have a plan, a game plan in the morning. We all talk about what we're gonna do. Then we go attack our territory. Then we come back and recap and talk about the wins, the losses, and then how we could do better next day. That's awesome. Like,
yeah.
a lot of places don't do that.
No, and I think that's also in a sales organization. Like that's a
Yeah.
good way to keep people from like not quitting,
Yeah.
because people go out, they have a bad day, and then they go home.
Yeah.
And it also holds people accountable so that they don't go out in their sales territory and then just like go home, like because that shit would happen too, And so I think it was leadership, but I think it was also like they just want to make sure people were actually like coming back, right? So, but you said like one thing that I learned from them was Dave. I don't know. I remember just seeing so much of myself in him. Like I wanted to be like him, but because I remember these guys had like, exotic cars and like they weren't super flashy. Their daily drivers were brand new Range Rovers and like, but they were like really rich. Like they weren't just like rich, they were wealthy, right?
Right.
And I remember Dave, saying something along the lines of like, man, I really just, I wish I was just in Miami on a boat. And I'm thinking in my head, like, motherfucker, you're so rich. Like, go to Miami and get on a boat. But he showed up at the same time every day in a suit, looking great, doing what had to be done. And he did the same exact shit every single day.
Consistency.
Yeah. And I mean, he did that until they finally sold the company for crazy, crazy money. Like a lot of money, bro.
So let's talk about that. So they get ready to sell the company. Obviously, were you still there then? Or
I was already, well, I think they, the thing is like selling a company takes a long time. So
Sure.
I think they built the company in with the idea to sell it like in the beginning, but they ran it for I think like 10 or 12 years before I think they started it in 2008 and I think they sold it in 2019 eventually. So it was after I had left.
So like for me, when I see somebody do something great, it inspires me. Some people may get jealous. Some people say, why not me? For you, when you saw your friends have that moment, how did it make you feel?
Really good, but they also were like, yeah, not a big deal. It was just the next logical step for them,
Okay.
and also like when you have $10 million in real estate and you have like another $10 million or 20 or $50 million check doesn't really make that big of a difference, which also made me realize like I'm watching these guys work so much, but they're really like not, I would say one of them is happier than the other. I would say from the outside looking in,
Sure.
he's got kids. I know he wants to be doing different things than he's doing, but he's being a man and he's raising his family, but I know he wants to go do other things. And then the other owner doesn't have kids. Him and his wife have like, a lake house and they got, $500,000 boats and they're doing, just a bunch of, they're just living that life. But I realized like, okay, I need to find the balance of like putting in a lot of work and doing what these guys do. But I want to find the sweet spot in between these guys because they both work crazy, crazy hard and they're both very dedicated. But one doesn't necessarily, and he's happy. He's a happy person, but he's just not, I don't know if he's as fulfilled as the other person is.
Right.
And part of that is kids, but I just look at that and I always kind of look at myself and I'm like, man, I just want to make sure I don't fall into that trap of like just doing this for the sake of money. And like, I don't know. So
then what did you do to not fall? Like, why do you do what you do today? What's your passion of doing it?
Well, you still got to get shit done, right? Like I'm here, right? But I also love what I do.
Okay.
So that's a big piece is I don't think those guys are necessarily in love with their business. They're in love with the outcome of the business and that it's theirs. But for me, with my business over there and then this content studio that we have, I love this business. I want to be here every day. I want to hire people and train them and develop stuff and build and meet new customers. So to me, this is play. It's not work. I come in here and I'm having fun. Like even when it's stressful, and it can be really stressful, especially a new business. I really enjoy that, and I kind of think I need that too in a way. But
wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your agency. So, kind of describe how you got into that world, how you even discovered it, where you wanted to go.
Yeah. So when I first moved here, I knew, like I said before, like I knew that I wanted to sell something, but I didn't know like what to sell. So I was getting on YouTube and I was going down the rabbit hole of like, I took Ty Lopez's course and like, was building out a social media agency, but also I was doing Amazon and I was also trying to do Forex and like just all this shit. Cause I was on YouTube looking up like how to make money on YouTube.
Yep.
And now I'm getting scammed by gurus with these courses and, learning through trial and error. But, Ty Lopez's course taught me something that there's value to give and I know how to sell. So now I know these businesses need this.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go out and sell Facebook ads to businesses.
Okay.
And what I did was I went into North Park when I first moved here because what I did before was I would go into a sales territory. I'd find a bunch of businesses and I'd just walk into every single one. I'd start building relationships and selling them on stuff. And then over time you get referrals and all sorts of stuff. But, I went to this pizza place. One of the first places I went, my first customer was Sicilian Thing Pizza. Shout out to Paul. And Paul was super cool. And I don't remember exactly how it went, but I walked in there, started talking with him. And the cool thing is I'm still selling the credit card processing, right? So I still got this thing that I know, and now I don't have a salary, but I'm actually making more upfront than I was before.
Okay.
So I got this thing that I already know that kind of gave me the confidence like, hey, at worst, I know I can make, even if I'm sucking, I can make, enough to pay my bills out here, right? But also, I'm selling them Facebook ads. And the difference was people didn't want to talk about credit card machines, but they did want to talk about Facebook ads. So it kind of let me sell
Even
both.
out, yeah.
But I didn't know shit about Facebook ads. So I went in straight up, told him, like, hey, I know you need Facebook ads. I know you don't know how to do it. I want to teach you how to do it. I don't know how to do it yet. But if you pay me $500 a month, I'll go on YouTube because I know you don't have the time to. I'll teach myself how to do it for your business, and then I'll teach you what I learn, and then we can teach your staff and whatever. And he also had a house in Newton, Massachusetts, so
Yeah.
like the next town over,
Right.
So we kind of had this cool. He's originally from Philly, and
Connection.
and he just saw that I was hungry and like he trusted me, so he paid me $500 a month, and I would go pick up a checkup physically from him every
Old school.
yeah, which like I just didn't know about automated billing and I didn't know about all this shit. But I would go pick up a check, and then I got this flower shop next to him, and then I got like this tailor, and I was selling credit card machines and processing to them too. So like I'm hustling, I'm making money, but then I realized like I started selling them like these $1,000 training packages instead of like monthly stuff.
Hmm.
And then what I realized was a lot of these people wanted me to do it for them. So I'd teach them, they'd be like, cool, I'm happy I know this, but now can you just do it for me?
Right.
So it became like a little contracting or consulting sort
Oh
of
yeah.
deal. And I just went business to business. And then I learned how to run my own ads because I'm learning all this shit.
Yeah.
And then I started getting leads, and then I started hiring people, and yeah.
So what I love about this story is you, like you said, you're hungry, but you didn't come in saying, "Hey, give me $10,000 out the gate," and you admitted, like, "Hey, I want to do this. I'm going to learn how to do this for you, and I'm gonna make sure that we grow together." And then I'm sure as time went on, then you could ask for more tickets because you were building a portfolio. And I feel like a lot of younger people I meet now, because I mentor people and things like that, they don't have that mentality to say, "Hey, I'll work for free. Just get me in the building. I know in the long run I'm going to make the money," but they want to lead with the money and not the value.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
I wish that that is a message that I want a lot of people to understand and hear, is that don't always worry about the currency in the situation, because there's there's uh, there's social currency, friendships, a currency is not just money that folds in your pocket. There's all those different ways to make a relationship into currency and lead with value.
Yeah, and our mutual friend Jeff Fenster,
Yeah.
his book is called The Relationship Bank Account, and he
Okay.
talks about, when you're in a relationship with people, like whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a neighbor, whatever, you constantly want to be adding deposits to that, which is like you're a prime example of this.
Yeah.
Everybody around you knows, if anybody knows Senator or Nakia Porter, they know that Senator is a giver, and he's constantly making deposits in bank accounts, meaning that he's providing value. So anytime somebody needs something, Nakia's like, oh, hey, I know exactly how to help you. And that's so important because with the right people, it's a great approach. Now, I think that the reason why a lot of people want so much money up front is they're so sick of people being 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
True.
When they want them to do work for free.
True.
Then they do all this work for free, and then they don't do their part because they didn't have any risk. So I think there's a middle ground. And
Right.
specifically when you can read somebody and you have a good relationship, when somebody's legit or not. But
Right.
but yeah, I completely
Yeah. But like I said, you didn't charge him. You didn't necessarily do it for free, but you said, "Hey, give me a little bit of something. I'm spending my time, even if it doesn't work. Spending my time. What's the worst could happen? You get a couple extra customers with me messing around with these Facebook ads."
Yeah, and
You
I
know what
was
I mean?
honest with him too, right? Like
Yeah.
most people would be like, "Oh, I'm an expert." Bro, I literally told him I don't know, but I know I can know. And
Right.
and that comes from, again, like being able to read people and like having people skills and communication skills. I was able to communicate and understand what he needed and figure out a good way. And you're really good at that too. Like how to figure out what people need and how to fit in with that, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like we talk about emotional intelligence. You kind of listen to what the person needs, and then be like, okay, do I know how to fix this? No. Or do I know someone that knows how to fix this? Or maybe. And that's usually how it works. Like if I don't know, I will either know someone or I know someone that knows someone.
Yeah.
You know that,
Yeah.
and we all do. I think a lot of times we underestimate our value.
Yeah, and one of the best phrases that I've ever heard, and it's so true, and you're a good example of this, is your net worth
Is your network?
is your network, or your
Yeah,
network
is
your
your
net
net worth?
worth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
And I mean, we've had, I mean, just through us, like, we went through something where that's a great example, right? Like I
Hmm.
needed something, I
Right,
knew you knew somebody else, that person came in, great fit. You know what I mean?
right, right. And I was gonna ask you something. I just lost train of thought. Crap. Oh, in the studio, we're in the content factory. What made you want to go down this venture? I know it's what 3 months now that you've had it.
Yeah, we're in the beginning of month 3,
Yeah.
two
So
weeks into month 3.
yeah. So let's talk about that journey. What made you want to do it? Obviously, you are not a studio. You're a studio owner, but not an expert at it. And then
Yeah.
now you're becoming the expert every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, like nobody starts an expert in anything.
Yeah.
Nobody, you have to learn how to throw a football because before you become a quarterback, right?
Right.
Like you got to learn how to walk before you run. So just to kind of take a couple steps back, the building that we're in is downtown San Diego. It's sort of like a WeWork, but it's all like private offices. There's a little bit of co-working, but it's private suites for like corporations, and they have anywhere from like a 400 or 200 square foot office, or I guess, I don't know, maybe even smaller than that, like a little tiny office,
Yeah.
actually about maybe
A desk and a wall.
yeah, about the size of this set that we're on right here. Maybe
Right.
maybe enough for one person, two
Right.
people. So I actually started in that. So when I moved here, I got an apartment down the street, and I needed an office. I just knew that I needed somewhere to go that wasn't at my house, like that
Okay.
made me feel like I don't know, did something, and I was right. So I got this little tiny office, and it was $1,000 a month, and I remember just thinking that was so crazy because I was only doing like 5 to 10,000 a month in my business, right?
Okay.
But we had kind of figured stuff out, and we were honing things in, and then I made my first hire, which was Donald. Donald now has his own business upstairs doing the same thing, but Donald came in, and I just started outsourcing tasks to him, right? Like we were running Facebook ads for customers. I was doing sales. I was doing everything.
Right.
So then I said, "Hey, Don, why don't you do some of the customer service and run the ads?" And then I focused all on sales. And then I continued to grow. And then we hired somebody else to do customer service while he did all the ads. And then he moved into a sales role while we brought somebody else in. And then I was able to step back and work more on hiring and building systems, and not working in the business, but working on the business. So
Awesome.
we moved from a small studio or a small office upstairs down here to a smart suite on the 4th floor. So we have a pretty large, 2,200 square foot office or something like that. And now we got a big team and stuff, but we started in this little office and just slowly grew.
Right.
So, and in my office that's inside of our suite, I shot my personal podcast, right?
Right.
So we blacked out all the windows, we set up all the cameras, we had lighting, and I started a podcast like 2.5 years ago, and committed. Like I'm all in. Like I hired a full-time video and content guy and got a bunch of good equipment, and then just was pushing, and we've had a lot of cool guests. We had Freeway Ricky Ross, who was just on Joe Rogan. Billy McFarland. I mean, a bunch of guys. FBI agents, CIA people, all sorts of stuff. And so I just kind of realized, like, look, I see that content is not going away, and specifically podcasting is really big, right? This is going to be massive, and I don't know. I see guys like Patrick Bet-David who are taking these 20-year gambles on this, which is not a gamble. It's calculated, but I'm like, man, I got to be all in on this, because if I do and I can develop my personal brand like this, it's going to make me way more money than anything else over time, because it'll lead to other opportunities.
Right.
Again, your network or your net worth is your network, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I saw this space come available, which is right next to our suite. For those of you that don't know, it's on the same floor. And it has no windows, which is kind of nice for a studio because you can block out natural light. There's no natural light in here. And so it's a completely controlled environment, and the city was trying to get it, and we just pushed really hard on it, and we ended up getting the space. And we built out 3 different sets. and started renting it out to people. And my, assumption with it was, I know enough people that create video content, and I think this is going to be really good. And I also had rented a space in Atlanta that was very similar, right? Went out there for a podcast and just went, man, I need to build out my space I can rent to other people.
Right.
And worst case scenario, we have a dope setup. I got to make a couple extra, $3-5 grand a month extra to pay for it, on top of all the equipment that we bought. But I don't know, it seemed like a good gamble to me. So built it out, and here we are. We're already cruising.
So yeah, so if you're in San Diego and you need a place to shoot, come to the Content Factory. And if you use the name Senator, they'll give you a discount.
Yeah. And I'll give Senator a couple bucks.
So do you want to talk about like where you see the Content Factory going and the goals you have for it, or no?
Sure.
And keep that under wraps.
No, I mean, I don't. That's the thing, is I'm an open book for pretty much anything. So like,
Okay.
with my other business, people used to come to me and kind of like, I could tell that they were kind of like asking me questions, but trying to like get info so they can do it themselves. And my opinion is like, look, there's going to be competition no matter what.
Right.
Somebody's going to try and come in and compete with me. I'll just give them everything. Like, bro, come look at everything. There's nothing, you can't take anything away, and you're probably not going to do it better than me.
True.
So, and if somebody does, fucking fantastic. Maybe they learn something from me and we can partner up, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not combative, and I don't have haters, and I don't hate on anybody. And I just want to partner with anybody. So to me, if anybody is interested in opening a studio or doing something like this, they ask me, I'm telling them everything. I don't really care. But I think that the Content Factory will at least be here. I think that this is going to be successful on its own just because of the network we have in San Diego, and San Diego is a really good hub for content. But I think that this is something that I see the writing on the wall with other people doing similar things, but not having the background, the branding, and also like we really care about our customers. Like that's what the number one thing is. We want to make sure customers feel really good about the space. They look good on camera. They feel good. They don't feel rushed. They can network with other people. So we're trying to build these out in a bunch of different places. We're already on our way to starting Content Factory number 2 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Let's go.
And maybe another one in New York City. We haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but we're close. But just trying to get the kinks out with this one and not scale too fast, because I've made that mistake in business before. And, I'd rather go slow and steady, but at the same time be aggressive and get some of the market share while I can.
And what makes this studio different than other studios is not only is it different sets that you can shoot, but they also will give you strategy sessions to make your content sound better, look better, help you brand it better. So it's not you just come into the studio and shooting, and then they just give you the raw content, and you got to figure out how to distribute it and all that stuff. So that's one thing that I like about it.
Yeah, so we have, like right now, we have an engineer that's behind the cameras, switching the cameras, doing all the audio stuff, making sure everything's good. So like one thing that if you're a busy professional, which most people putting out content are entrepreneurs or business owners or coaches or whatever, you don't have time to set all this stuff up. And if you're trying to shoot consistently, you just need a place where you can go. So for example, one of our customers, they have a podcast called Amor in Business, right? And they're from Venezuela. It's a Spanish podcast about relationships and business. And it's a girl and her husband. They have a podcast. They rent the studio out. They have an editor they send all the footage to. So they come into the studio, they shoot their content. They don't have to worry about setting anything up. They know that there's an engineer present. They just roll in, they shoot their podcast, and then they roll out. And that is exactly why, right? Like a lot of people have the setup in their house, but I solved my own problem, right? Because I had the setup in my office.
Right.
But guess what? Anytime we wanted to shoot a podcast, it took an additional 45 minutes to an hour and a half for setup and takedown. And when you're busy and you got shit going, you just can't do that all the time.
Right.
So I thought, hey, why not have a turnkey place where I can come in? I built this with my podcast in mind, which means it's going to, if it solves my problems, it'll solve other people's problems,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I try to keep my shows short. So is there any announcements or anything that you want to tell the public before we go?
I'm running for president. No, I'm just kidding. No, man, just, man, Nakia, I got to say thank you for everything, because you really are such a servant. You really go out of your way for your friends, and you're genuine.
Yeah,
and I've learned so much about you from networking, and, it's funny because you're a little bit older than me, you're a little wiser, but you just see things. You know, sometimes I get caught up in the now, and you're really good at taking a step back and being like, nah, maybe you should look at it like this. And I really appreciate your perspective on things because you really, yeah. So, man, I'm glad. You know, it's funny is we've been Facebook friends for so long before we started hanging out. Like,
Yeah,
we
that's
sort
true.
of knew each other, but we didn't know each other.
Right, that's true.
And I went to one of your events because I told you I'd go and say what's up. And I saw you there, and it was like we knew each other forever.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, what up? And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, did I meet this guy before? I think just Facebook. But no, I really appreciate the way that you handle yourself. You know, you're a giver, not a taker, and yeah, appreciate it, man.
Nah, I appreciate our friendship. Another announcement: we're gonna have an actual content day here at the Content Factory. In the future, we're just trying to get what would you say, the finishing touches together. But I talked to some people about it, and they want to see it happen. So in the next 2 months, we want to do that. We got Margaritas and Mingle at the end of this month. And that's all I got as far as announcements. But I definitely want to thank you for your friendship and for putting all this together. Seeing you do this in 3 months is amazing, and I'm here to support and help you any way I can. And I mean, that's really it. In the words of Dr. Dre, just chill till the next episode, and it's a wrap. Yeah, man, that's good. That was
really
awesome.
Good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know why it took us so long to do that.
Now we gotta do yours.
Yeah, let's see how that one.